Good to see you both. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for
Absolutely,
having
brother.
us.
Thanks for being here.
I had so much. It's Christmas in July on Hallmark, which is so exciting. I mean, Vanessa, I did want to kind of ask, like, what's it like just getting there and seeing everything? Like, you get these scripts, you have all the conversations, but at some point you get there and start filming with Marcus and Christopher. What's that like getting there for this film?
It's so exciting because you can only, your imagination can only do so much, and it's never going to be true to how it is when you arrive on set, and it's never really going to be true to how it is when you watch the final product. So it is just a fun journey altogether. And I don't know if you meant literally, like we had to fly to Toronto and then drive 5 hours up to Mattawa to go to this lodge. I don't know if that's what you meant, or like spiritually, how did I get there? But it was definitely a commitment, because it was a secluded lodge in Northern Ontario, and we had to stay there and couldn't really, leave.
Didn't we share a transport from Toronto to get to Mattawa on this one? Did
Oh
we?
my goodness. You slept in the back and I talked to the driver the whole time.
That's right. That's right. That was the
That
first
was
time I
our
was
first
like,
time meeting.
she's got a lot of energy, and that's
She's
good.
got a
And
lot of energy and she's got a lot to say.
Absolutely. No, but yeah, no, like it was good. It's more also kind of like it shows, right? Like everything about the cab, like in the script, you read about the cabin and everything, but you get there, right? It comes to life. And I always find that fascinating. Marcus, good to see you, man. I think this is our first like official interview, dude. Long time coming.
long time coming. Good to chat.
And I did kind of want to ask, like, when I watch these movies, the like Christmas and the holidays, I always see them as a character, right? It's its own thing. What's that like preparing for that? Where it's like, do you think about like Christmas and the holiday as its own character when you're making these movies?
Um, yeah, that's interesting. I think like in the early days of doing these, it was like a process of honing in on finding the tone because everything's a little heightened and whimsical, and like pain doesn't feel like real pain, and joy feels like joy times three. And so yeah, that's the if when you speak about like character associated with these movies, that's kind of where my head goes, and it's like a really fun and nice place to spend 3 weeks. And so yeah, I think I just kind of tap back into that where you're just like everybody's trying to have the best day of their lives today. And it's like, and when you buy into it in that first scene at the top of the day, it's a fun wave to ride.
No, absolutely. Vanessa, to kind of add to what Marcus just said, in terms of kind of like preparation or a lot of conversations that are going to have with the director Christopher Giroux, or the conversations you're going to have with Marcus or Skywalker, like when do those conversations really start to really happen? You know what I mean? Is it like as soon as you get there, all these storytelling conversations are happening? Is it more like in the prep? You know what I mean? Like I'm just wondering about that because I find those like storytelling conversations very interesting, and depending on the
Yeah.
project, they happen at certain times.
Definitely. I mean, I'm somebody who, and people who've worked with me will attest to this. As soon as I get hired, I want to have a table read. And in today's entertainment culture, that's kind of unheard of. It used when I started acting, the table read was a must. It was guaranteed. I think we even got paid for it. And now they're like no time for table reads, And so I remember I always beg for it, especially on these Christmas movies, because it's really hard to get to set and have your first scene with somebody and have never met them, talked to them, or even read through the movie together. And so I really push for that. And I did with this movie, just as I have for all the others. And I remember we did it. We did it. We got everybody together, and it's asking people to get together on their off time, and it's really just you're kind of pulling on the heart of the person, not really. It's not required in any way, and so for me, that's really important because that's the first time you get to read the script as a team, and you kind of hear other people's voices and hear other people's takes of their character, and that informs a lot about your decisions as an actor, and a lot about decisions about how the story is going to go. So I think that's a wonderful question. Thank you for asking it of me. And I think for this movie, it was even more special because we got to film on this location where we were kind of forced to all be together. And that had like more behind the scenes talking of like what's happening in your story, what's happening in mine, and how we want to co-create that. And I think we had a great kind of cauldron to put all the different pieces in and have the magic come out.
Absolutely. And then, final question for you, Marcus. I find it very interesting. I feel like the answer to this might be no, because when you're making these films, you're focusing on the character and the present time and being in the present. But like, given that these movies, like their community, people watch these movies around the holidays, they're excited, they get pumped, they're really feel good movies. Are you ever conscious of the audience member watching these movies while you're making them? Or is that something you think about after you wrap, so to speak?
No, I think I am. This particular space in the entertainment industry, like the Hallmark Christmas movie space, it's very sort of like hands-on with the audience. Like you kind of begin to recognize like the media people who follow it, in particular the fans who are rabid about it. And so I do kind of think about like, are they gonna like this choice of scene, blah blah. And then like comedy stuff, you can kind of like keep the audience in on the joke in the ways that you sort of play things. So in that sense, they are. Yeah, I would say actually that the audience is in my head more on these projects than other things I work on. So
you keep that question alive, because sometimes it's a 50-50 with that one, because sometimes I'll ask that and like someone will be like, no, never. And like, not more than like, yeah, like never. And it's like, I feel like it's like 50-50. So thank you for
I think it depends on what you're working on. Yeah. Like I was doing a lot of really emotional stuff on this series last year, and that not at all. Like that is like, because you don't want to think anybody's watching you when you're doing something like really vulnerable. Yeah. When you're doing something really vulnerable, you kind of need to like forget there's cameras and crews and audience going to watch it, because like you're like, oh, my nose is snotty while I'm crying in this scene. That's really embarrassing. But if that stuff's in your head, then you're screwed. And so, yeah, I think it depends on the project.
Absolutely. No, super well said. I can't wait for people to see Snowbound for the holidays on Hallmark Channel. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter. Good to meet you, man.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.